Lenny. Hi, everybody. All right, I'm going to start sharing it out, that awkward moment where I look down at my phone to do that.
I don't know how that works, but go.
Nicole can do it, I think. Can't she? She can share it to your page.
Oh, I'm on my page right now.
Oh, then you can do it too, Lenny.
Oh, do what? I'm just wondering. Technology is not my friend.
I know that.
Even there, I break them. Hey, you know what I want to do? I want to get a Japanese designed cartridge and put the, Japanese characters for the game Go.
Mm-hmm.
Then it would be the Go kart.
Oh, goodness. All right. Well, with that, we can start. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of The Talk. I am your humble host, Emmy Ko, Director of Marketing for the show. Got lots of great show news coming up for you, but that's a separate conversation. Today, we have my good friend, Lenny Mayeux of Mofi here to talk to us and kick it for an hour, chill out, talk all things music, all things audiophile, music enthusiast, systems, vintage, pressings, original pressings, repressings, the list goes on and on and on. A couple of house rules for you guys and gals who are tuning in. This is an interactive show, so if you have any questions or comments, do feel free to post them in the comment section, and we will make sure to answer them. It's going to be like this for the whole 60 minutes, I can tell. This is a space that we primarily consider to be educational and encouraging. So please, we don't talk about politics. We don't talk about religion. There's no sexual harassment. There's no harassment of really any kind. Although I love Eric Cartman, so I might harass on that a little bit.
I love that guy.
He's so awesome. There's no bullying. There's no trolling, which means like if somebody's system is not as advanced as yours, right, you don't beat them down in the comments section. Everybody's on their journey. We're all here to learn. We're all here to talk and encourage one another. And as Lenny says, like if one person in audio is winning, we're all winning because we're all choosing hi-fi over
mundane, boring audio.
Exactly. So Fred Faison says, where's the fun? The fun is actually in encouraging people and to relate to them and to learn. That's where the fun is. So with that, welcome, Lenny. Thanks so much for joining us. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Sunny California. What can I complain about?
I hear you. I know. I woke up this morning. It was 43. I'm just north of you, and it was 43. And I was like, this is cold. I don't like it. But I guess it's going to be in the 60s today, so it'll be all right. Lenny, you are our guest curator this week.
Yeah.
Which is cool. So for those of you that follow us on social, the last few weeks you've been seeing, we had Giles McCoy from Home Theater Fanatics. We had Mike Perez from Audio Architects. And now we have you. Next week we're having Tim Schroeder.
All right.
That's awesome. So every week we've got a new curator who's picking the posts and then writing captions and telling us about what in their system, what they're looking forward to, what they're doing, to get an idea of what's going on in audio. And you have been talking about your turntable Lucy and your new Koetsu cartridge, right? So why don't we dive in and start there? And hello, Nicole. Hello, Shane. And hello, Jerome. By the way, hey guys. So Lucy's famous.
Lucy's all right, man. I love Lucy. She's a Dr. Fikert Woodpecker, and it's the first thing I bought when I was with Mofi. I just, I like Christian Fikert. I like him as a human being. I like what he's doing. He's so passionate, but he's so humble. Mm-hmm. And, we were talking earlier before the lights came on. We were talking about people with all the answers.
Yeah.
And I've got 32 years experience in here. I have more questions than answers now. And that's what I realized. Some of the people that are the most advanced the reason I have so many answers are, if you have all the answers, you don't know all the questions. As I've gone over, there's new questions that are constantly arising. I don't know. And that's right. Me always learning. So to me, the guys that have all the answers, they're stagnant. They only have the answers because they've stopped taking any new questions. So when I started Mofi, I wanted to know everything. I wanted to be an expert on Fikert. So the first thing I do, man, I get a new Fikert table, and I was expecting it to have a performance envelope, but I was really surprised. It has speed regulation that I've rarely heard on a belt drive table, but that great magic that belt drive tables have. But it's a high torque motor, which most direct drives don't. Most belt drives don't have. That's something direct drives have. So again, it looks simple, but everything about the Fikert's very unique, purposeful, and I just fell in love with her. So, I have Lucy, and and I'm always telling people that I am my customer. I am the audiophile. I'm a guy that, spends money on audio, so when I'm talking to people, get this, get that, you'll love it. They're looking at me like, would you buy it? And I'm like, I got 2 of them. I love this stuff. My boss Norbert said, you spend too much money on hi-fi. And I'm a hi-fi guy.
No such thing.
I know,
such
that's
thing.
what I told him, get out of
Goodness.
No, but I love it. I am my customer. So Lucy is a T.H.E finished Woodpecker that I have a Kuzma 12-inch VTA Stogie S arm on, and I just put a new cartridge on her, which is a Koetsu Yurishi Ujima. And basically that is a rosewood body that they take a sap from basically a poison ivy plant. So it's toxic. It's hard to do, but it's a 10,000-year-old tradition. And every cartridge after that's a little different. It crackles a little different, and the way the finish works. But there's a sonic characteristic to that too, because it kind of makes it more resonant, a little and I just love to look at it, because you know what, my cartridge, there'll never be another one like that. They'll never have another cartridge exactly the way mine looks. And just I love that. My own system, man, I take my own system seriously. I listen to it, I love it. And but really the most important, there's 2 things I want to bring to this talk. The 2 most important components I'm going to talk about today. One is going to be software. Nothing as good as what you start with.
There it is.
You got to get great records. And I'm not just, you don't have to always buy Mofi. And I was telling you even a lot of people don't know this. Mofi has like not 3 levels, but 3 kinds of recordings on the LPs. We have the ultimate, the 1-step process, which is, if you haven't heard it, it's not a record. It's an experience. Like,
it's mind blowing.
Oh, it's mind blowing. Then we have what we call the original master recordings. This is bread, by the way. And these are guaranteed from the original master tape. These are remastered perfectly from the original master tape. Then we have one of my favorite records ever, Raspberry. This is what they call Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab. This may be the master, may not be, but what it is the best tape we could find to make this recording. So all those top levels actually mean something. That the first most important component is great source material, because you'll hear you can't be better than yourself. A lot of, Ivor Toffenbaum from Len said that with the turntable. You can't make up for what you've lost in the source. But I'm saying he can't make up from what you're putting on his player. Well, it starts with the software.
We've got Fred asked a good question. When is good enough? That's a really good question. And I'd love to get your thought. I mean, I've got my own thoughts on it, but I'd love for us to talk about that for a second, because that's a question I think a lot of people, whether you consider yourself an audiophile or a music enthusiast, or you're just starting your journey. Oh, and Celine wants to know how she can find the right turntable. So let's get to that next. But, no matter where you are in your journey, like, when is good enough? Or is there no such thing as good enough? Because as long as we evolve, the journey keeps evolving. Like, what do you think?
And it's one of those things too, that perfection is the destruction of good enough. If you're striving for perfection, you lose the idea of good enough.
Well, I guess, Fred, if you're watching this, what do you define as good? Like, what is your definition of good quality, right? So is it clarity? Is it perfect balance? Or is it finding the imperfections? Because these are all things that I think are really subjective, aren't they?
Well, I'm saying that I want people to strive for perfect connectedness. Connect to your system. Then it's good enough. If you can connect with it, just like food. I don't know if the food I'm eating is the best or good enough, but I enjoy it. I connect with it. It's the faux place I like. Whatever speaks to you, whatever, makes you tap your toe, inspires you to. But I'll tell you this, when I hear a good recording, it inspires me to listen to a better recording. The like, wow, that was so good. Can I find something better?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is a lot of times good enough is good enough to inspire. And that's what I want people to be inspired.
Yeah. Well, last night, like I had a really horrible evening and I sat down and I thought, oh, I'm just going to go to bed. And I sat down. No, I still got work to do. And I put on I just grabbed a Frank Sinatra record off of my shelf, put it on my turntable, turned on my system and sat down and just instantly I was like, oh yeah. And so
fly you to the moon.
But then I realized it was part of the Pickwick collection.
Oh yeah.
Right. Which is really sort of this very limited sort of, I don't want to say lower end, but it's definitely something that's more on the unique side. And from there, I started listening to, I've got an original Capitol recording and, I've got some remasters and things. And I just went down this Frank tunnel and each one, and I was going to go to bed in like 20 minutes. And then an hour and a half later, had this whole Frank experience that was completely transformative. And I felt great afterwards,
Music's medicinal.
It is, very much so.
It'll heal you. It's true. The second thing I'd like to stress is the young lady or the lady or the female or the great audiophile that asked about the turntable.
Yeah, Celine.
Is the second most important is trust someone. Your dealer, a manufacturer, someone who's got skin in the game that does this professionally. You've got to trust someone. Even myself, I've been doing this a long time, but when I go to buy that Koetsu, I'm calling Norbert. I'm asking questions. I need to trust. And you really trust someone who has your best interest at heart, listens to your needs. And there's a lot of dealers that do this. They really have your best interest at heart and they want you to get the best performance. So the two great components I want to talk about this is one, try to find some good software, great records, great digital, great downloads like Qobuz, high res. I don't care the format, and find someone to trust. Yeah. I don't care if it's a reviewer, find one reviewer you can trust. Right. Trust in somebody that can help you in this journey. I'm still getting guidance. That's what I'm saying about these questions. Right. As I do this more, I get more and more questions now. I want to know what a stone body Koetsu sounds like now. I got to know. I have to know what those platinum magnets sound like. Not that I haven't heard them or experienced them. I want to know in my own system. I want to know at 2 a.m. when I put on Inagata and Davida.
Hey.
I want to know how it moves me, man.
Right.
So, part of the way I sell and part of the way I consult my clients is I want them to have the same experiences I do. Right. So for me to sell that experience, I have to have it first. Right. So I'm listening to music every day. You've known me for a long time. My playlist is growing.
Yeah.
New music, old music, covers, deep stuff, punk, funk. I don't care. I want to be inspired. Yeah. You get one round on this earth, and I'm going to listen to a lot of great music during this. But even more so is I like liner notes. I want to read. This guy brings into this person that brings into that person. And then you find out that, this guy played Hammond B3 here, and you like his style. Well, he played, on this Parlor Funkadelic record. I must like it. I bought it.
Right.
I liked it for a whole nother reason. It's a great journey. These are really wonderful things that I'm trying to get people to connect to is great hi-fi and music in your home. Mm-hmm. And I love the idea that I have helped people, inspired people. They've put this gear together and they're expecting A, and what they get is something totally different. They're just calling me saying, I was expecting it to be good, but it's like 6 or 7 hours later, I'm still listening to music. This is amazing.
Yeah.
I gave them a friend. That's what my hi-fi is my best friends besides my wife and my dogs. And I'm only saying that because they're listening. It's my buddy, that's what I'm saying. Hey, part of when people say they know, like almost ashamed. Well, I bought it because I like the way it looks. That's great.
I bought my turntable because I love purple. I'm not going to lie, man. I got me a U-Turn Audio Custom and I am proud of it. And, I have never had a single person say to me, oh, what a crappy turntable. They all look at it and go, that's gorgeous. And I go, I know. And it sounds great too. I mean, I've got a couple of them, but.
Just like this guitar. I spent 3 years deciding which Tom Anderson I wanted. And the way it's got a roasted maple neck. That is a maple. It's not a rosewood. It's in a kiln that they roasted. Everything about this I love. Now, does it sound the same if it was just red? And yeah, it does. But I touch it. I feel it. It's part of me. And I feel hi-fi's the same way. These speakers, I want them, they're beautiful and I love looking at them. But this is the best way. I enjoy my hi-fi when it's not even on.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
It lives in my house, man.
Right.
I wake up in the morning, take my dogs out, and I see these Wharfdales sitting there, and I'm just a happy dude.
Yeah.
And I want people to experience that we're not just, I take this seriously. I really want people to experience incredible hi-fi and musical playback in their homes.
Yeah.
And when they do, man, I get a lot of great emails, and that's what I live for is people moved by music.
For sure. What do you think about, there's a debate that's raging on one of the audiophile post boards that I follow. I made the mistake or the misstep of saying that I like to troll the post boards late at night and see what oftentimes people are writing, when they're not of their right mind, I think. Maybe after a couple of drinks or whatever. Right. Yeah, exactly. They think, oh, I'm on the internet. It's safe for me to just say whatever I want. But, somebody had posted this idea that I can't remember what happened, that they went to see a neighbor or something, and the child was interested in vinyl. And so the guy bought the kid one of those suitcase turntable, like a Voyager or something like that.
Bosley thing.
Yeah. Right. And I read the comments, and like about half of them were just shunning this dude. Like, how could you even be caught dead with one in your possession? And the others were saying, this is a great place to start. You're going to be this little kid's person, right? You're going to be this kid's person now. What's the next step? So let me ask you that question, Lenny. Like, if you bought your neighbor's kid a little Crosley Voyager just to start with, right? I think they were like 11 or 12, right? They weren't quite a teenager. What would the next step be for that? And then what would the step be after that?
I would get them good software. I go back to my first component. You got a Crosley, even though that's not the best pickup device for a great record like this.
Right.
I would say, hey, look, you can afford a $25 record. So you put your $25 record on, it's going to sound better even through a Crosley. And he will like, wow, there's something there. Inspiration. Now he has a reason to get a better table. I've just built in proof of concept that if you think this sounds better on a Crosley, what do you think it sounds like on a Mofi deck? There. But now he's got something that he is in the he look, Lenny from Mofi. He listens to the same thing I listen to.
Right.
He's in the club, bro. He's this number one. I didn't know what you were going to ask me, but this is my number one component. Good software. So, trust me. Second one. Trust me. If you get good software, that will inspire you, connectedness, to go down the journey. Now, let's get another thing. Let's say we start out with a great turntable. $25,000 turntable, West on that stage, all this. And I'm putting on really terrible songs. It's high resolution. It even sounds worse.
Right. Because it's all magnified at that point.
Yeah. So it's, I believe that everything's about inspiration and time. I'm not going to judge the guy's Crosley,
right? But
I will judge the guy's music. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care if it's an inexpensive turntable listening to crappy music or a great system listening to crap music. Listen to good music, man. Get involved with music. Understand music. Start going and just diving into music, getting into it, getting onto Cobuzz. And, I found some really like this French jazz band that was doing Allman Brother covers. 7 hours later, and I didn't walk the dogs and all kind of. I was mesmerized. I gotta have that. Gotta have it.
Yeah.
So, sure. I'm not one of those guys that are so caught up into the gearhead stuff and judge you because of this or that. man, I will judge a guy that has a Crosley table, but great software, better than a guy that has an incredible rig and he has the best of Yanni. That's how I feel.
What's wrong with Yanni?
Yanni.
Okay, because I love Yanni. Live at the Acropolis. Friend of Tangerine Dream. No, not so much. Okay.
You're not going to convince me to like Yanni. I love you.
That's okay. But but isn't that the cool thing about the audiophile, the audio enthusiast community? It's like we all have our different tastes. It's all subjective, and you can agree and disagree, and it moves people differently, right? And that's the thing.
We're inspiring somebody right now.
I hope so.
Arbiter of our debate. Somebody's going to listen to Yanni and decide, am I right?
if I get spray painted windows because of this, damn. Oh, good. Your wife has sided with me, Lenny. Yanni is good. See, sisters before misters. I see you, Nicole. Go, sister, go. So let's talk about you. I was trolling your feed the other day, and you recently got a pair of the Wharfdale. You have the floor standards, but you had something before that, didn't you?
I had some Mangers from Germany.
That's right.
Bright orange. Fantastic. You know, I owned a speaker company called Imperium Acoustics for a while, and we were doing floating wave transducer. It is a really remarkable feat of engineering. It's very coherent, time aligned, time coherent. It's when you hear a human voice that is created from one transducer, meaning that it's not, there's no transfer function from a tweeter to a mid-range to create that. It's just one driver, one material creating a voice. It's something that you can't forget. It's eerie. It sounds so real. Right. One material making that whole frequency band. So that is a company that has just been perfecting this one driver for years. So I had a pair of those in here. A dealer saw them, thought, hey, man, I need to hear those. And he should. I mean, that's a really good speaker, and it should get a lot more love in the US. And I'm trying to put a little love behind it. But it's if you're looking for something that's compact in your home, high resolution, not like everybody else, truly built with passion, look into Manger.
Okay. You know, another thing that I want you to speak to that I'm curious about, which does go into the whole speaker debate as well, is somebody else posted what song. This was really interesting. The guy posted, what song do you use to test your system? And I read through the feed, and nowhere in there did anybody write, you only use one song? How come you don't use multiple songs? But what is that? Why is that? Where there just is one song?
It's called favorite song bias. If the system sounds good on your favorite song, it's my favorite song, it has to be a good system. I do something weird.
You like the song anyway, though.
Right. That doesn't judge. That judges that it plays back something you like and you agree with it. I agree with that. Right. But one of the things I do is I have 2 or 3 recordings that are dreadful. It's heavy, ugly sounding. Right. But if my system's accurate, I put it in and I'm listening to see how bad it is. Okay, it sounds bad. The bass is too flabby, but it's telling me the truth. Right. What people do is they want to adjust their system to kind of EQ it for their ears. And I'm saying that's not the best way. So let's say I have some active subs and I put on that disc and it's real bass, muddy, heavy. They're going to start adjusting their EQs as if they're remastering the bad recording. No, it's a bad recording. It's always going to be bad. Just like if you're driving on a bumpy road, it's going to be bumpy every time you drive on it. Right. So what I do is I use a multitude of different recordings to give me an average of everything I want. First of all, I want it on have perfect balance. So that's why I listen to these bad songs to say, okay, it's doing what I want. Because if I'm listening to something I really like, I have a harder time adjusting it because it's like I'm I can't be honest about it. I'd rather
Well, I
listen.
feel like you're connected to it too, right? It's like if you
Exactly.
like it, you're there to listen as a listener and not listen critically.
Right. So I always start out with these bad recordings that I don't even want to hear anymore, but I have to. And then I get it to sound what I know these recordings should sound like.
Right.
So I get it there. Then I listen to a few other things to see soundstage width, depth, and that's kind of peppering the taste to what I like.
Mm-hmm,
A lot of people like speakers a lot toe in front and back. Do they want a wide soundstage or deep soundstage or real tight focus soundstage? Those all are set up, but to get frequency right in the room, a smooth transition of a spectral balance from top to bottom, I always start with recordings that I don't necessarily like, but they tell me the truth. So I listen to them and I balance. Then I start with recordings that I'm very familiar with, and I want them to be predictable. That's what I do.
And do you find yourself having to make market adjustments when you swap out speakers, or not so much? Do you feel like you have everything down to a place where you're like, no, I can get these in with minor changes and then we're good? Or
no, everyone's an advantage, but I do, like in my room and in hotel rooms, I never put everything square in the room. I'm very much an asymmetrical guy, even if it's an inch or two, as long as it's not square in the room. And I believe you get clarity through chaos. You know what I mean? Non-predictability, those are all good things. Right. So I like asymmetrical setups. I'm listening for as much extension as I can without having it to be colored, or I'm hearing too much wall or suck out. I try not to make my listening environments look like a recording studio. Instead of bass traps, I'll put plants or heavier carpets.
Right. Yeah.
Again, I don't want, if I feel like I'm in a studio, I can't get the illusion when I turn off the lights of everything, just me being serenaded by people is what I want. I want musicians in my room. I want to think that, Linda Ronstadt really came over to sing to me. She didn't, but I would like to think she did.
A guy can wish.
So that's what I like to do. So I try to get everything as balanced as I can through asymmetrical setup, making sure none of my multiples even into each other. So if I have the speakers 10 feet apart, I don't want them 2 feet from the sidewall, because 2 divides into 10 evenly. I try to make all my multiples different. Just these general concepts that are easy to do, that anyone can do it. I mean, I have mics and I have spectral analysis, and that's fun, but I'd rather do it by ear. It's, I just kind of find that is more organic to me. I connect with that better. But
so wait, I want to go down that road of spectral analysis, because there's a number of components that come with apps that you can use to measure your room and to analyze your room, and it'll offer you feedback on your room. And the thing is that no home is perfect. And so how often do you have to tell clients, customers, that, that's great that you're using this, but your measurements may not actually yield the experience that you want? And really, a little bit of TLC will get you what you need versus this. Or sometimes is it the other way around?
Well, if I'm in a hotel situation at a show and I'm pressed for time, I'm going to pull out some mics. It helps me kind of go quick. When I'm enjoying it, I'd rather just do it organically and listen. And then I measure it to see, hey, are my ears right? If I, see. But the problem I have with enthusiasts, say, using these measurements, they don't have enough experience for correlation. They see these things. I saw this one guy, he had this little dip in his room and he was moving stuff around. It was like a 2.5 dB dip. And I'm like, you're not going to make that like a razor flat. He wanted it to look like a laser beam. And I was telling him that's a good frequency response in room. We said, see that wiggle? Well, I realized the way he was looking at it made it seem like it was a real big, and they don't know what that means. They don't have any correlation to say, oh, that's okay because it's balanced. It's a small slope. It's in not a critical region. They don't know. All they see is this dip and they're going crazy over it. And I feel it causes more problems than solves. I think that's great and it's fun. And if people enjoy doing it, that's great. But I would rather people listen with their ears, just learn what a smooth balance is and understand that bass is not as visceral as we think with all these home theaters that we're attuned to going to the Best Buy and hearing this sledgehammer.
It's like a punch, isn't it?
Yeah. And you play stand-up bass is boom, boom, boom.
Right. It's not a slap in the face.
Right, round, and it's funky and it's got precision. Right. It's not a sledgehammer, and I feel that people don't really understand what instruments sound like. Timbre personally sounds like, and that's why I think professionals should help when you're getting into this upper echelon of gear, help people understand what timbre means, what instrument textures should sound like.
Right.
Why a 9-foot Busendorfer sounds different than a 9-foot Steinway and how they're made. And, and one is a softer sound, one has a better attack, and they're not better or worse. But what we're trying to do is give you that back, and we're trying to not just put a generic piano in your house. I want to give you a 1954 Steinway, baby. I want that in your house.
Right.
But if you don't know what that sounds like, it kind of gets thrown out the window and people get confused. So they want the microphone. And if it's flat, then it's got to be right. But they don't realize what they had in their room. It was flat. That's a good in-room response. But they don't know because they've only done it in their one room.
Right.
And they've read a book that says it should be razor flat. And they don't realize that if you've measured 10,000 rooms, that one's pretty good. I've seen some rooms, look like they're on whiteboard, man. So.
Well, let's talk about Paul. Paul has a good.
Hey,
Paul James from Australia is a very cool guy who was on. He was a guest on the talk as well, and he has a great comment that I want to delve into a little bit more as well. Room ambiance is also important to help you in the mood. Aesthetics matter.
Yeah.
How much do you feel? It's funny. Steve Rockland and I were just talking about that not too long ago about aesthetics and design for components, maintaining the integrity of the quality versus for show. What have you found? Like wild designs, do they make a difference in your listening experience?
Well, I some people would look at an avant-garde system, which is a horn system. So
I love Unos.
And they think, wow, that's wild, but it's not. That's one of the oldest playback designs ever, a horn-loaded technology, So, I don't, some manufacturers seem to think they'll have some kind of market advantage by making their stuff look so different or their technology very different. And I feel that sometimes they're missing the point. That's all they're offering is it's different. And that's okay. One of my favorite speakers in the whole world is Harbeth, and it looks like a big box, but that mid-range driver, that radial driver, that's really sophisticated. So I don't know if you can see a product in the way it looks and judge if it's really leading edge, if it's really outside the box, or did somebody just make a weird chassis because they couldn't do anything else? I don't know. I've heard.
What a horrible thought.
Turntables with 4 different platters and all this stuff, and it didn't sound any better. It was real. Chris Pfeiffer. Chris Pfeiffer make more kind of spaceship looking turntable and all that stuff. Then he got away to just a more traditional looking plinth. It made it more technical to build and it made it more sophisticated looking, but it didn't add to the sound necessarily. So he's just adding to the complexity of manufacturing without adding to any kind of sonic ability. So I like I guess form matters function. If the form adds to the function of playback, then I'm all for it. If you've just done it to make yourself different, then I'm not that impressed.
Fair enough. I need to talk to you about the great cable debate. Have just a little bit. No, because
I got away from cables and they pulled me back in.
Well, of course, they're meant to. No. Because the way that you explain it is so intensely clear. And I think there's a lot of folks that I'm in the process of, yet I always seem to be building something new, like in my house. And so Jerome's like, no, cable debate. Yes, we're going there. But I mean, cables really do make a difference.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They're crucial.
Let's talk about that.
Okay. You know, I look at certain things like vibration control, isolation, cables, power conditioning. I call that the foundation. Mm-hmm. I believe that's almost more important than the speakers and stuff, because that changes all the time. And if you get a great foundation, which allows you for everything else to run at a more optimized or optimum level, you're getting more return on investment. And I use the analogy of a car. If you look at car and track, it'll say we go 0 to 60. We have this much. It's a spec. It's an envelope of performance. But then it has a little asterisk, and it'll tell you it was done on a sunny day with a professional driver on this track.
Right. And the road was even and flat the whole way.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this foundation is that track I'm talking about. You're paying for a certain amount of performance. The speaker goes from 30,000 cycles to 30 cycles, all this performance. And then once you put it in your room, it can never increase that performance envelope. Everything starts taking away. Just like if I have that great car, the second I drive it on the road, it never makes it faster. It can only make it slower. The road's in bad shape. It's got potholes. I'm not getting 0 to 60 like that guy was. You know?
Yeah.
I'm saying, let's get a great track. Let's get the best cables you can get. Let's get the best power conditioner you can get, racks, isolation, all these things. Now, once I've done that, and I know that's there, I'm going to go and say I have a DAC. Say I have a $2,000 DAC. It's great, state of the art. But of course, in a year, whatever DSD 44 is now DSD 8 million, it's changed. I'm going to get a new DAC. And I'm going to really upgrade. I'm going to get a $7,000 DAC. But if you didn't have good foundation, you don't have good power, you don't have a good power cord, you don't have a good rack to put it on, you're just going to start decreasing that performance. So you paid for it. But now in my way, if you had everything from the beginning, you're guaranteed as much performance envelope as you can. Return on investment instantaneously. So you make one upgrade and you got the full return of that upgrade. Where if you didn't have all that, you would have to get the $7,000 DAC, and then to get the best out of it, you got to go buy a new rack or a new power cord. You're gonna go, well, it doesn't sound much better. It's because again, your track's not good. So I'm a big proponent of that. Cables are a big part of that, and I'm always saying one of the things that cable manufacturers do to their own detriment is somebody will have a review or they'll put a cable in and said, oh, I have more bass. And yes, if I had a microphone and I measured it before the cable was in there, and I had a microphone and I measured it after the cable was in there, I probably would not see the bass frequency increase. It's not like it's going to go from 40 hertz to 30 hertz. It does not get lower necessarily, but your perception of it is. And that can be from a lot of things. It dropped the noise floor. You have better group delay. So the coherence of the bass is more accurate. Things that you don't pick up from just the FR response. There's off axis things. So what a cable does is allow your system to perform at the level that the designer intended it to. So he has this performance envelope because when he was making his speaker, he's measuring it and he understands it. He's got his whole battery of tests he's done. Now you've put it in a room, and everything you're going to do is decrease that performance. So where you put it, the stand it's on, everything. So I'm saying what a cable does is give you as much as the performance you paid for. Get what you paid for, man. That's what cables do.
I mean, it's just interesting because I always looked at cables like a messenger. When they say don't shoot the messenger, right? And so like imagine you're giving someone a note and say, go deliver this to Lenny. And the guy runs down to San Diego and he knocks on your door and he goes, I have a message for you from Emiko. Something about food. Something about this afternoon. Okay, bye. Well, you got some sort of message, but you didn't actually get what I wrote down, which might have said, "Hey, Lenny, meet me for lunch today at 12:30," right? So
Correct.
you're still getting a general idea, but you're not getting the details.
Correct. Yeah. Detail, noise floor, dynamic contrast, all those things are going to, be enhanced or peppered to taste. I'm not, I worked for audience for a long time and I love audience cables. I do. I still do. But that does not mean I don't have some Cardis, and I love Cardis. I love all, there's a lot of cables I admire.
Now,
So,
do you love the new cable lifter, the new Jewel from Audience?
yeah, those are great.
Those are beautiful, aren't they?
Profile, those are fantastic. And I do feel those make a difference, not just in performance necessarily, but for routing, the way it looks, to make sure cables you can easily put them not running parallel, but cross them better. And that will give you better performance.
Yeah.
The better cable dressings you have and the more attention you can in direction, the way they're hooked up, can increase in performance. But again, I like looking at it. It's just beautiful. It's all well organized. And the more I like to look at it, the more I'm connected to it, the more I listen to it. And that's what I'm after, is connectedness. I want to be connected to my system, and I want to be connected to my music.
Dare I bring up the invisible cable video that you shot?
Inviso cable. People still haven't seen it.
So can we talk about it?
Sure.
Because it's utterly hysterical. So when Lenny was at Audience, we were down there shooting some promo, and our director got this idea to do an April Fool's video. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Now I've given it up. But anyway, Lenny came out with this Inviso cable. And for many of you who are familiar with Audience components, Audience has a speaker line called the "Oh No." And partway through the video, Lenny goes, "These are invisible. You'll never see them. It's like the "Oh No" line, but it's "Oh no, where'd it go?" And we managed to green screen just the two terminals hanging in midair. Y'all need to go check it out. Seriously, it's one of Lenny's best, totally unscripted.
One of the things is they use a low mass design, so I say we perfected the no mass.
No mass design.
Still today.
That was brilliant. We did get a few people asking where they could find it.
Yeah, I said for him to call their dealers. The Inviso cable. They'll be surprised. They were surprised.
They haven't gotten demos of it yet. Don't worry, it's on the way, guys. It's on the way.
And then I leave, and of course they have to take all these phone calls for this cable. Like poor Joe's like, "Lenny, what's a Inviso cable?"
Do we have a stock number for that?
I haven't heard of this.
Oh,
I set him up with a joke and leave. Sorry, guys, gotta go.
That's too funny. Anyway, see, for people that don't think that audiophiles have a sense of humor, we have a wicked sense of humor, actually. So I want to talk about Mofi a little bit more. One thing that's really cool to me is that Mofi is not just, I don't think that Mofi is perceived as just straight up audio and straight up vinyl. It's sort of a lifestyle brand.
Yeah. Well, there's three divisions. There's Mofi, or Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab. That's in Sebastopol. That's where they do the recording, the records, the SACDs and such. Then we have Mofi Electronics, which is in Ann Arbor, Michigan. That's where we build our phono stages, our turntable. And I was really proud of that when when COVID had and we were locked down. One of the things that we could do is we could deliver product because it was made in the United States. And the only thing those tables have, I believe, that's not made by an American manufacturer. It's not like we're ordering motors from somewhere, but I think they're Hurst motors. I mean, everything except the button and the dust cover, it is from America. It's an American table. Yeah, we're trying to employ other people, and we could deliver. Then we have what we call Mobile Fidelity Distribution. which has been around, I think 5-6 years. I'm not really sure, which is really Norbert and John really pushing it. And then they got Ben Newhall, who's just fantastic. And, it just started growing, and we have a great ops, and Greg that does the shipping and the service. And then they brought me on, and we just keep growing, and we're bringing in some of the best products that we can. These new phono stage, my phono stage I haven't named it yet because I don't know what I want to name it, but I try to name all my components, like my guitars.
Now, are your components all female or are they male?
Some are male, but my guitars are, my wife Nicole joke. I have all my guitars are named Nicole. Nicole 1, Nicole 2, Nicole 3, because I think if I keep naming them after her, she'll let me buy them.
That's very George Foreman of you.
I know. Except one, I let my little niece used to live with us, Bear, and I said, "Hey, Bear, you can name this guitar," and it's the one I have right there on the wall.
Okay.
And she looks at it. She goes, "Justin Bieber." I'm like, no, you can't name it.
Interesting.
Justin Bieber. So I call it Joe Walsh, man name. I call it Joe instead of Justin. But the phone rings one day. She picks it up. I'm there just wailing. And all I hear is, no. She calls me Uncle Bullfrog because Uncle Bullfrog Blues. It's a Roy Gallagher song. So I play that a lot. So I'm just playing away, and I hear her say, "No, he's in the bedroom playing with Justin Bieber."
Oh no!
So I'm like, no, Bear. It's Joe Walsh. So
that
she
doesn't make it better.
I know, it makes it better. Oh, I'm sorry. He's playing with Joe.
So wait. Gregory Simon has just written in, wires are male and components are female. Dare I even go down that road?
Bro, you're on your own with this one.
and just to let Gregory Simon know, coming from Pro Audio, wires are both male and female. Some actually are gender fluid, depending on what you get, and some are gender neutral.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. I've never really asked the nature, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I name it. I've been doing that since probably, I don't know. I bought a pair of Dunleavys when I lived in Alaska, Fairbanks, Alaska, with the military. I was the only guy with hi-fi there. So, I started naming stuff back then. I don't know. Again, they're like people. I like to communicate. I like to have ownership. I've been doing that for instruments for years. What's your keyboard name?
Oh, my keytar.
My
keytar, who is here. He's going to make an appearance today. This is Carlos.
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 You talk to musicians and they name it. They're personal.
Yeah. Well, he is a twin sister named Carlotta, who is pink. I actually found out, Lenny, that your wife and I share a component. It's not really a component; it's an antique, really. We both have, or I don't know if she still has it, but we both have the same Victrola gramophone.
Still has it.
Oh, she does. Yeah, I found it. She's like, "Hey, you have my gramophone." And I was like, "No, I don't." She goes, "Yeah, you do."
We bought that in Fairbanks. We've been hauling that around for years.
Yeah, she told me. Brilliant, though, isn't it?
Yeah. What's good about what my adventure with Nicole is she's never grasped audio like I have, but she loves the fact I love it, man. She just can't, man. When I get something, I'm excited. It's like she's excited because she just sees that passion I have for it. And when I'm on the phone talking to other audiophiles and music enthusiasts, and she can hear their passion and their love of it, she connects to that. She gets excited because I'm excited. So when you see her at shows, she's talking to everybody because she can't believe how excited that people will go from Timbuktu, Nebraska, fly all the way to, say, Maryland to go to the Capitol Audio Show to listen to hi-fi and come see guys like us.
Right.
She gets the biggest kick out of that,
Yeah, so, for sure. Well, wait, is the Victrola named?
No. Would you like to name it?
She hasn't named.
She doesn't do that. No, that's kind of
my Victrola's name is Aunt Tanny because it belonged to a woman named Aunt Tanny who passed away, and her nephew was selling it because he was going on a Christian mission in Africa pre-COVID, and obviously now he's not I think he's missioning via Zoom, as far as I understand. But so we named her Aunt Tanny just out of respect. Nicole says no because it is mine.
Well, she would name it Auntie Mame. If we're gonna go with the aunt thing, she likes that movie.
No, I just named it Aunt Annie after the lady that it was her original Victrola. But anyway, I was just curious because I thought it'd be cool. No, audio shows are another great thing that we should talk about. We at the show have a number of very exciting things coming up that I'm not going to tell you about right now. But I can tell you that Lenny's in on it, but he's not going to tell you right now either because we pinky swore on it. We totally did. But stay tuned because probably in the next week, we'll be announcing a few things that are really, I think, are pretty cool.
Very cool.
And so I wanted to talk to you about your experience not having shows this year. Like, how has it been for you, not just as a representative, but as a music enthusiast, as a music lover? Like, how has it been? And what have you been doing to keep moving forward with everything?
That's a really good question.
I know.
We've been busier than we've ever been. I mean,
That's great.
When I'm on the road or at a show and someone calls, I don't have much time to talk. And what I've realized is I'm spending a lot more time on the phone with dealers, a lot more time on the phone with customers. I can sit down and actually talk to them. What kind of music do you listen to? Have you ever heard this? And really, I feel like I've been a much better consultant and a much better steward of music and hi-fi during this time than before, where I was just a show guy. I'd go to shows and do my big demos, and I try to make it very entertaining. And I was mastering that skill, the skill of the 5-minute demo, getting people so excited.
Right.
And I lost a little bit of who am I talking to? And I had to relearn listening to the customer, really understanding what the customer wants and trying to help them because they can't go to a show and hear it. They can't see dealers like they used to. I had a lot more responsibility and I started buying a lot more gear and getting a lot more gear sent to me so I could put my ears on it to try to answer their question as best I could because they can't go. I'm not going to say, yeah, go to your local dealer when there may be some, their health or their age. I don't want to put people in harm's way.
Of course.
So I would spend a lot of time calling back. I know power conditioning real well. So I would spend a lot of time, tell me about your system. And we'd work together in emails and on phones. And it took me a lot more time, but I had a lot happier customers and I really enjoyed getting to know them a lot better than just the PR Lenny guy at the show. Hey, how you doing, Lenny? Good to see you. Do my thing and pat him on the back. Yeah, I'll remember you. And I don't remember. But now I remember them. I'm spending time on the phone. I know their systems.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed trying to be the best audio consultant I possibly could in a plague. I'm selling hi-fi in a plague, basically. And I'm on
literally you are.
Yeah. And I'm like, how do I do that? And we're not talking little investments. When a guy's calling me and he's asking me truly, look, I want to upgrade my system. I need a new cartridge. And we're talking like, say, Koetsu.
Mm-hmm.
That's anywhere between, $3,000 to $15,000, depending what he wants. And I'm going to have to help him pick something he's never heard, maybe. And it's not something you can just bring home and say, hey, I don't like it. There's no 30-day return policy necessarily. These are handmade, crafted. And I've been 100%, man. I take my time. I listen to what they want and I try my best to find the best product and it's working and I like it. And then what happens is this self-fulfilling prophecy. They call me, what I told him worked. So, hey, Lenny, what's next? I sold a pair or helped sell a pair of Master Line Source, the big Piega speakers to a customer in Louisiana, and he couldn't hear them. He's never seen them. It was total trust. Lenny, I need the best pair of speakers I could. He's retired. His wife had passed away. And this is what he wanted. This is something special to him. And but he trusts me enough we're talking about $40,000 pair of speakers, man. I took, I'm sweating a little bit, get these, but I took the time to know what he wanted. He liked
Mhm.
ribbons. I know what kind of music he likes. He ends up buying a Schroeder amp. He was a guitar player. The guy ends up talking to Tim and buying one of his amps.
Nice.
That's what I'm saying. It's this,
Right. It's very familial in that sense.
yeah.
Right.
And I get to spend time. The customer calls me and I'm going to spend an hour on the phone with them. And I couldn't do that at a show, or if I was traveling 2 weeks, 20 weeks a year, so I'm in the air a lot or driving. There's no answer. And I have one of these things like John Durda that if I'm at a customer and that phone rings, unless it's a dire emergency, I'm not answering it. I got somebody in front of me. So I try to do that. Well, right now I can spend more time, and I think it's benefiting. I really do. I think the customer is more satisfied. He's learning better. He has more entree to the manufacturer where he didn't necessarily have before. And I feel that they're getting better value for their dollar. So I think it's been better.
Larry has a really good, it's not a question, but it's a topic. And I do want to bring it up for the last 5 or 10 minutes, because this is something, actually, Larry, it's funny that you bring this up. He says, another quote, controversial topic, thoughts on people's YouTube speaker demos. So I'm going to be doing sidebar news. There's a thing coming that I'm going to be doing, and y'all will see, believe me, you all will see it when it happens. Probably the next couple of months.
All, I love that.
Y'all.
Getting Southern speakers. Y'all.
But that is an interesting question, because we had on last week. No, I'm sorry. Last week we were on break because of the election. The week before we had Mike Perez, and the week before that was Giles McCoy from Home Theater Fanatics, and they both do exactly that, YouTube speaker demos, and they are very, actually, incredibly difficult to do, in the sense that obviously what you're presenting, you can't necessarily play the songs that you're testing on the speakers, because YouTube will mute them out if they're not whitelisted, if you don't have the copyright clearance to play them. So then you end up playing horrible royalty-free like elevator jazz or club techno or waiting room dentist office music or whatever, right? Or Yanni, apparently, according to Lenny.
Hey, there's a lot of Yanni fans. The best of crickets.
So right, exactly. I mean, just finger snaps, like whatever you can, whatever you come up with. But then the issue is, when you're watching the speaker demo, you might be watching it, say, on your computer or on your phone or on your tablet or on headphones, and you may not be right. You're losing. It's a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox. You're losing something in the translation. So how does one reconcile that? I mean, you just told the story of the gentleman in Louisiana who bought the speakers from you on trust, but Larry brings up a good point. Like, there are a lot of people that are turning to YouTube to learn, which is very cool. Like, that's awesome that people are wanting to invest more in their systems and do more stuff with it. But how do you reconcile that?
That's a really good question.
The face you're making pretty much, I think, is the answer.
No, it's actually something that's more of a John Durda thing. He does a lot, but look, John is just the ultimate cool dude. You tell him, hey man, this is the greatest speaker I've ever heard. John's like, yeah, man. He was born in a hi-fi shop. I've never seen the guy excited really about hi-fi.
Yeah.
I mean, you
right.
can tell, yeah, okay.
Right.
Except there was these earphone microphones that David Solomon suggested he tried, and he tried. Mm-hmm. He was so excited about that. He's calling me saying, I ordered you some. You got to get these. These are fantastic. I'm like, man, these are great. Nice. And what that is they're binaural microphones that really do a great job recording for YouTube. John is constantly pushing the envelope to try to get that as accurate and as good as he can. Mm-hmm. So the answer to Larry, that's what we say. We try to make it better. We're working to try to give that experience as accurately as we can. John Durda works hard on that. I mean, right. He really is sitting there. We have a new Wharfdale Diamond 12 series coming out, and he's recording them and sending them to me. And he's like, look, listen, respond. He wants criticism. We're trying to knowing that is how people are getting to hi-fi.
Right.
We need to work on that game too. So that's his answer. We know that's a real thing. We know there's a downside because it's a copy of a copy of a copy, but that doesn't mean we can't work as hard as we can to try to make that as accurate and as good as we can. And that's what we're doing behind the scenes. We are working on microphones, setups, how you do it. John did a great one on record cleaning machines, our Nessie and the Hamel. And, you know, he has these recording and he goes from one to one. They're all the same. He opens up like 4 different LPs. So they're all cleaned the same, but he just cleans them differently. One's a brush, and you could hear the differences even through a YouTube presentation. Absolutely. Were they as accurate as maybe what he was hearing? No, but you still could hear the contrast.
Right. And I think that's the key, is like being able to point out the vast differences and the vast similarities versus the nuances are always going to get lost when you're watching anything on YouTube. That's just, I think, how it is. And that's true for color correction videos or anything, any sort of tutorial that involves really needing to be there in person. But I think the one thing that, Lenny, that you bring up is the idea of the connectivity, right? Like what you can convey through a YouTube video is how you feel about it, how it works with the system. There are certain words that are universally relatable to everyone, right? And I think those are things that are really, so the YouTube videos tend to be more like lifestyle review videos versus very technical demo style videos, right? Because there's not a whole lot of way to get somebody to experience it otherwise.
Yeah. But we're trying to, you know, his last recording he sent, what those speakers sound like and what I'm hearing back through YouTube is pretty close. We're trying to really give the true accurate experience. John Durda is working hard on that because it is important. That's why Larry asked that question. You can see it. You know, people are buying these speakers based on what your computer sounds like, and you don't know how they're recorded. And but if you realize how the customer's interacting with that, right? And then you say, okay, I just need to give it to him the best I can, and then you have a goal. And you try to do it. It'll never be like a live situation, ever. It'll never be like you're at a show and getting to hear it. But that does not mean we cannot move that ball toward that goal line, constantly trying to get better, better mics, better setups, more discipline for ourselves to be better, to be better, to be better. That's what we're doing.
Which goes back to Fred's original question of when is good enough? There you go, right?
It's never good enough. That's the question, is good enough when it's good enough. And for me, good enough is close to perfection. So
well, I mean, audio is one of those things where I don't know why you would want to be good enough. I feel like because it's a journey, and I don't mean that in a judgmental way. I just mean because it's such experiential steps that you can take, and you can go on a straight path, you can go on a winding path, there's a fork in a road, you can turn around, go backwards, whatever you want to do, because it's your personal journey. And I think in that sense, the question I think would be, why would you ever want to stop at good enough? Well, I mean, obviously if it's a financial issue, that's obviously everybody has their budgets and things, and that's cool, but that doesn't mean you have to stop experiencing music.
No.
And stop learning, right?
And here's a thing. I knew a guy who spent 46 years in audio, owned 2 stores, big Wilsons, Apogees. This is in the 80s, 90s. He retired around 2002. And the gear he sold was extraordinary. Goldman, big iron, man. He moved big iron. But when he retired, he didn't want the headache of all that. He got a little integrated amplifier, a nice turntable, and a pair of little British speakers, and he could not be happier. He knew what's out there. His thing is he didn't want to have to tweak it too much. He didn't want to have to, and he's been around the block, but he knew what he wanted. So good enough for him, or perfect for him, was simplicity. Just that very easy to put in system. People keep calling me. I'm not home, guys.
That's because you're very popular.
Yeah. Okay. I owe somebody money. But yeah, so it's not always going upgrade. It's not always getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. It's finding out what you need, what's perfect for you. And in that situation, I was expecting to walk in there and see a mountain of speakers and amplifiers and everything he possibly could have. And I didn't. But I saw all smiles when he sat down in that big chair and he had those little pair of speakers. It was a great integrated. It was a very high end integrated, but he just wanted simplicity, like a CH Precision, a BAT integrated, get a balance. But that's what he wanted. He didn't. He had been around that so long. He just wanted a simple system that he could connect to.
Right.
And it's not that if you walked in and saw it, somebody would say, "Well, let me show you the good stuff." Dude, that's a guy that sold more good stuff than you'd ever see in your life.
Right, of course.
He knows it. He's been around. But this is what he wanted. So I also say that too, is it's not a contest. It's not like mine beat up yours. It's not that. The happiest audiophile is the one that sits down, smiles, and buys records, man, and listens to it. Yeah. The best audio system, the one you listen to.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right.
If you listen to it, it's good, man. What else do you want? You know what the best instrument is? The one that stays in tune and you play.
True. It's true. Absolutely. Absolutely right.
It's down to that simple of an idea. It's not that difficult. Find something you love.
Right. And those are wonderful words to end our show with. Find something you love. Lenny, Mayeux, thank you so much for being on the talk. Everybody stay tuned on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, because Lenny's going to be, he is our guest curator of the week. He started the week not on a Monday. So you'll be seeing another 4 or 5 posts from him coming up. So make sure to check it out because he's going to be taking us through his system and some really, really cool stuff. So stay tuned. And anybody that has questions, if you're catching this on the replay, feel free to type in questions or comments and we'll make sure that Lenny gets them.
Or you can email me. I'm LennyM@mofi.com.
There you go. You can go ahead and go internet stalk Lenny through his work email. That's always a great option. And if anybody has any questions about the show, I'm not answering them on air, so you'll have to email me or direct message us and we can have that conversation offline. But thank you everybody for watching. Stay tuned next week, Thursday the 19th, noon Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our guest is going to be Tim Schroeder of Schroeder Amplification and Schroeder Hi-Fi. And everybody go check out Mofi. Lenny, thanks so much. And everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.